Hi everyone, so this month's watercolour project is a lovely spring onion. Now I know we are still fully in winter here in the UK, however this is nice and jolly with some beautiful colours, so let's look forward to some warmer weather, eh? Okay, so really nice spring onion this one. It's got some beautiful purple on, but it's a really soft purple. It's not as dark and vibrant as some of them. So yep, and we've got some lovely papery skin to put on as well, so let's get cracking, shall we? Let's go and mix up some colours. Right, okie dokie, let's get some colours mixed up. So we're going to start by mixing up this lovely purple. Let's pop some water down here. Okay, right, and we are going to start with alizarin crimson. So let's get a good wallop of that on the go. Okay, going to add to that some French ultramarine. Start this purple off, and to make that nice and vibrant I'm going to add a bit of rose madder lake. Make it a bit more pinky. In fact, I may have gone a little bit too dark there. I can always add some water to lighten it up. Let's just check that. Oh, beautiful colour. Let's just check it against the onion. Yes, slightly too dark, so let's just wash the brush off. Add a little bit more water. Okay, going to add a little bit more rose madder lake, make it a little bit more pinky. Let's test that. Let's just test that. Yep, that's looking nice. And we're also going to have a little mix, so I'm just going to take a little bit of this, pop it down here, add a touch more water, and we're going to put some permanent magenta in there, just like that, and a little bit of opera rose to get some real brightness. It's a really bright pinky patch for the bottom. Let's just test that. Yeah, see the difference, see the vibrancy. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, and we can just add a little bit of water to our brush, take that down there and have a little watery patch of that, so it's nice and pale. Okay, so that's our watery one. Right, okay, let's wash the brush off. Okay, now I want a little bit of a grey, so I'm just going to pop some water over here. I've got what's left on my brush. I'm actually going to dip in to here, just pop a little bit of that in there as a beginning. I'm going to add a tiny little bit of lemon yellow, a little bit of cobalt blue. Oh, that was a little bit too much cobalt blue, wasn't it? Let's just wash the brush. Okay, added a little bit of water there, a little bit more lemon yellow. So we're going into the grey realms, a little bit of rose madder lake. So we've got a pinky grey there. I'm going to add a bit more water to that so it's nice and pale, and every time we use this you're going to need to really give it a good stir. Okay, so it's just a lovely pale purpley grey. Right, we're also going to begin mixing up two of our greens. So one of them is very pale, so let's start over here. Let's pop some water down. We're going to use lemon yellow. I'm just going to give mine a bit of a clean first. So I've wiped the lemon yellow, just washing my brush off. Just want to make sure it's not got all that red on it. Okay, so lemon yellow. It's got a nice bright green. I'm going to go into our cobalt blue first of all. Slightly too much. Over egging it today with the cobalt, aren't I? Right, okay, let's have a look. A bit more lemon yellow. And again, still a little bit more. It's really zesty, that is, isn't it? Okay, let's just test it on the paper and see where where we are at. Okay, that's nice actually. That's very nice, just a little bit lighter. So I'm going to add some more water to that. And I'm just going to earth it up ever so slightly with a tiny touch of permanent magenta. Just to make it a little bit less vibrant. There we go, that's lovely. Right, okie dokie, so that's one. I'm gonna pick up some of my lemon yellow again, pop that over here. I'm gonna take a little bit of Sennelier Yellow Light. Again, I'm just gonna remove that red off the top of the paint, clean my brush. Let's just wash that. I'm gonna add a little bit of this with the lemon yellow, and I'm going to go in with a touch of French ultramarine. It's slightly darker. Let's just wash my brush. A little bit more lemon yellow. A little bit of cobalt. That's looking nice. Tiny bit more French ultramarine. A little bit more lemon yellow. So I'm just adding my paints until I get the colour that I want, which is a slightly darker version of what we've got going on. Okay, a little bit bluer I think, so I'm going to add a touch of French ultramarine, the tiniest touch. Let's test that again. Yes, that's looking nice. I'm just going to test that against the, yeah, that's good. Good. Lovely. Right, okie dokie. So let's go and make a start and we'll see how we get on. Okay. Right, okay, so we're going to do something absolutely mad, and we're actually going to start in the middle of the spring onion, because this is a nice point here to start putting in the pale green, which we want to be down before we start to add the purple in, because the purple actually sits as sort of textural marks over the top of the green. So I want to get that in first. So we're going to work from here, come down, then put our purple in our bulb on, and then we're going to go back up to the top. So completely crazy today, why not? So I'm going to take my putty rubber and I'm just gently going to roll down here a little bit. Just take away a little bit of the graphite. I want to try and keep some of the lines, but I think it might be a little bit hard. Oh well, we know the direction that they're going anyway, so it's fine. So removing our putty rubber first of all. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a glaze on, and we're going to put it on from that edge there, take it a little bit into this stem so that we can have somewhere for the paint to run, and then we're going to bring it down to around about here. So we don't need it to go any further, but what I want you to do is the pale colour, the pale green that we made, I want you to really water a little section of that down so it's really nice and light before we pop it on. So let's get our glaze on first of all. Okay, so let's just work up to that area there, just being careful around here. I'm just going to leave a slight gap and then work up into that bit there, being careful as I come down the edges, so treating this like a stem, so it's got a very smooth edge. Just going to grab a little bit more water, so just coming down slightly further than I need to so that the paint's got somewhere to move, somewhere to float. Just checking my edge. making sure it's exactly as I want it, nice and straight. Just going to come up this side now. I'm sort of using the belly of the brush, pushing down, get a nice edge. Let's just straighten up down here. I don't need to come down that far, so I don't really need to worry, but just in case. Just going to bring a bit more water up here because we're drying out already. It's because I've got the heater on in here because it's ever so cold. And of course I've got the lights as well. Okay. So I'm just perfecting that edge. That is my main concern at the moment, making sure that edge is nice and straight. Just coming up a little bit into there. Right, okie dokie. Now I'm just going to water down a section of that green so it's really nice and pale. I'm also going to throw my brushes all over the floor at the same time. Lord only knows why. Okay. And I'm going to start to pop some of this on. Now if it comes on slightly too dark, it doesn't matter because I can always adjust and take it away. So I'm starting down this side. And I'm just going very, very gently. And then with what's left on my brush, I'm going to pull it over to the paler side over here. And I'm just going to very gently pull it up here. You can see how pale that is. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush, take the water out, and I'm just going to fiddle with the top bit there. I'm going to grab a little bit more of the colour and just gently bring just a little bit down and through. I'm going to take it slightly further down here because there are little bits of green that we can see just in between the bits of purple. What I'm concerned about is having a nice edge and nice light areas. I'm just washing my brush out and I'm just going to gently come down the edge here. Very gently. Wash my brush, take the water out, make sure it's really nice and clean. And I'm going to just lift a little bit of light, just coming around in between some of these veins, because this has got a slightly blue tinge, so we're going to put a little bit of just pure cobalt blue to make sure that that has the right tone to it. Okay, let's just have a look. I'm just going to pull a little bit of light through. Just a few little lines just through here. Just to add a bit of texture. Right, okie dokie, and that's the first little bit down. Right, okay, while we're waiting for that to dry, we are going to jump to the bottom, so to the bulb area. We are going to remove some of the graphite from down here. I'm going to keep these little bits for the roots, just there, okay, and we're going to put a little bit of a glaze on here, and we're just going to start to bring a little bit of shape to the bulb. So let's use a number 4 still. And I'm putting on more water than I need again, because all I want to do is focus on the bottom of the bulb really. Pop down a little bit of grey just to sort of start to build the form. So I'm just coming in between these roots because I can put a little bit of the purple on that we can see around them. So I'm just using the tip of my brush to come in between these. Okay, around the edge there. And again, I want to make sure that my edge is correct. So I'm using the point and the belly to just make sure everything's nice and neat. Pull that water up. Okay. Make sure we haven't got any horrible puddles or anything like that. Okay, we are going to go to our grey. We need to give it a really good stir, and I want this to be nice and light. So make sure it's really nice and pale. You can take a bit of the excess paint off on your kitchen towel. And now we're just going to build up a little bit of shadow along here. So I'm going to start by popping, oh, that was too light. Let's grab a little bit more. So I'm just going to start by popping in a little bit of this colour down here. And just start tapping it in down by the roots, okay? I'm going to bring a little bit of it up this side, but we do have a bit of a disappearing edge. And I'm going to start stroking just a tiny bit down here. I'm just looking to see where it goes. Just going to grab a tiny little bit more. Just looking to see where this colour presents itself. Obviously we're going to be going a much darker purple as we move up, and then this will appear much lighter then as well. So we're just popping in some strokes, just starting to build up just a little bit. And I'm just going to gently start to pop down a bit of colour where our purple's going to begin. Washing the brush, taking the water out, and I want to make sure that I have definite highlights. So I'm just going to come along and just lift a couple of bits out as I see fit. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of our purple with the magenta in now, and I'm going to pop these right down close to the roots. So coming in and around them where we can see these little flashes of this colour while it's still damp enough. And it's not all the way down here, so just be careful. There are a couple of little gaps. Okay, we're now going to pick up a tiny little bit of the darker purple, the first colour that we mixed, and we're going to put a couple of little darker patches in here, just tapping them in with the tip of the brush so that they look like they're a bit more indented. Little bits of sort of shadow. Okay, just there. Wash the brush, take the water out. And now that we've got these darker bits on, you can see how much our grey has faded. And I'm just tapping away anywhere that I feel can benefit from that. Okay, now we can see that there's a little bit of graphite trapped under here. That's fine, we'll come and remove that once everything's nice and dry. Okay, so let's let all of this dry out now for a good 5 minutes. Okay, so I've moved us back up again. Now what I want you to do is just take a little bit of water, put it on your palette, and add a tiny touch of cobalt blue to that. So just tiny little bit at a time, and you want it to look like this, really, really pale, okay? So while everything's drying out, we can just come on and put on this little bit of blue, because we don't want to put it on after we've started adding the veins, because it'll disturb everything. So we're just going to pop it on now. So it's just a little hint of a blue wash, just popping it on down this side. Just there, just giving it a tiny hint of a blue tone. It's ever so subtle. I'm just going to add a tiny little bit more. Just down there. Okay, lovely. Right, so we'll continue letting that dry out now. Right, okie dokie, so everything's nice and dried out now, so I'm going to drop down to a number 2 and we're going to start putting on some of these veins. So we're going to bring in the dark ones from around here and across here, and when we've brought those down we'll start to add in the purple bit. Okay, so number 2, we're going to go to our darker green now. Let's wake that up and pick a little bit of that up. Okay. And actually, I think we might start over the other side. Let me just get my brush as I want it. Okay, and we're going to start popping on our veins over here. So take a really good look at the reference, or if you have a spring onion in front of you, take a really good look. And we are just going to very, very carefully start adding on our veins, nice and fine. Got a couple of little bits that come off and join here. Really take your time with this, there's no need to rush. There's a little bit that branches off there. Okay. Just going to keep picking up little bits. So I'm going to work this way. Just makes a little bit more sense. Coming up into this area here. I've got some joins. Some very fine joins. I'm just going to pop those on. Okay, just going to grab a little bit more colour. And I'm going to see where we're going next. So now we're starting to come straight up into here. Again, a few little fine joins off there. Okay, so you can see just how light and fine I'm keeping these veins. I'm just working really nice and slowly. There's no need to rush at all. Now I'm starting to come towards this part. Just grab a little bit more paint. And the veins start to get a little bit closer. So I'm just really paying close attention. There's just a fine one that just runs up through there. tiny little joining marks. I'm just going to thicken this one up slightly. Just deepen up at the tops. Just gently there. Okay. And then just slowly, because we've got a whole network going on now, so I'm going to add my thicker veins, my more prominent veins in first. And I want that slightly darker, so I'm going to have to go over again. So yeah, I'm going to add the thicker veins in first. And then I'm going to fill in the in-between spaces. Gets closer as it comes up into there. Coming down. Okay, just noting the way that everything sits and how it all flows and curves. A little bit more. And start adding in the ones that are finer and closer. So the in-between veins now. Okay, just building up this lovely network, nice and slow and steady. And some of these can come down a little tiny bit further. Okay, let's have a look. That's looking really nice. This one just needs to extend slightly. Just there. Just going to grab a little bit more. And I'm just going to make this slightly darker here. And this one. So I've got to be very careful to make sure that I go over the correct line. To deepen this up. Okay. These are really quite thick here. And that's a bit of a gap there. Let's just take that one a fraction darker. Right, looking nice. Okay, let's have a little bit of a rest and relax now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to very gently just deepen up with what's left on the brush, just the top of some of these. So you can just really go over the top as they work up into here, because then we're going to, it's all going to sort of merge together into this colour in a minute. Okay, right, let's just have a little bit of a rest now. Okay, I've moved this down because we're going to start adding a little bit of purple now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another glaze on, and we're going to take this from sort of midway down in our bulb. coming up the stem here. And the texture right at the top, I'm going to dry brush that on. So I just want to bring this up to sort of just where we've just been working to. So just the bottom of those green lines. So we don't want to disturb them. Okay. Let's just take a good look. Just gonna add a little bit more water here. Okie dokie, and the first colour we're going to go into is the permanent magenta one, but the paler one. So I'm just going to start by picking up a little bit of that, and I'm going to work up sort of in lines. And so we're going to start over this side here, and I'm just going to start to bring this up. Just around here. Just very gently. A little bit at the edge here. Just going to pull down a little bit there. So yeah, just starting to build some shape. Okay, I'm going to continue along, making sure to follow the direction of the lines and looking at the angle of which this moves across the bulb. This is just our first pass. Let's just grab a little bit more. We're just trying to establish sort of what's going on at the moment. So coming down the side here, nice. I'm going to wash my brush, take the water out, and I'm going to feather at these edges a little bit. And I'm just going to lift back up into them slightly. And I'll lift a little bit of light out over here, where we've got this reflected light on the edge there. Just smooth that little bit of colour there. Wash my brush again. I'm just going to come through tickling at the ends just to soften. And just sort of pushing backwards, wiping my brush after every swipe. So just getting the initial bits on first of all. Okay, pushing back again. So as I said, we'll see our grey sort of disappear when we start putting darker purple on. Okay, let's have a look at that. That's looking nice. Let's just come up here and I'm just going to gently diffuse around here. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of a darker magenta now, just slightly. I'm just going to denote a few little lines while this is just drying out, so a little bit dry. Just going to pull in a bit of a line here. Just a few little darker ones that we can just see. That just help our eye to follow the curves. So mainly following on from those green areas, and then we've got a couple of lines sort of in between. So just gently establishing what's happening. And making sure we've got that curve around here. Okay, let's have a look. Lovely. Right, okay, let's let that dry off now before we do any more. Right, okie dokie, so it's all nice and dry now, so I'm going to start to add in some dry brushing. So we're going to use our permanent magenta mix, and we're going to make sure that our paint is nice and dry. Splay my brush out so I can pick up this pigment, and I'm just going to start gently dry brushing on. So if I think it's too dark, I will remove some of the pigment from the brush and continue. This is looking nice, so I'm just very gently popping this on and working upwards in these lines. Just grab a little bit more. I'm going to bring a little bit up into the next section now, where it starts to get a little bit darker on this bend. Just building up nice and slowly. Just grab a little bit more. You need to know when your brush needs a tiny bit of water as well. So you need to sort of be very in tune with your paint, if you like. Just going to bring a little bit up here. If you haven't done dry brushing, then I suggest you go and have a look at the tutorial on dry brushing. It's in the pinned post at the top of the page on Patreon. Sorry, I'm stopping and starting speaking because I'm concentrating. Okay, so we're bringing it up here now. As we can see, it comes up here in little patches. So I'm just bringing it up as far as I need to, and just sort of giving it a bit of a wiggle. Working upwards, just there, in my lines. Coming downwards now. And bring in a little bit more. So yeah, if you haven't done dry brushing, go and check out the dry brushing tutorial and have a practice at it before you attempt it. Right, so I'm just going to wash my brush, take the water out. So I feel like I've got a little bit too much pigment down here. So I'm just going to very gently give it a bit of a tickle and diffuse it ever so slightly. That's the lovely thing about this, is that you can diffuse it if you need to. I'm just going to pull back a little bit. Okay, right, let's continue. Let's pick up some more of that mix. Okay, and let's start working up the next one. So I'm just having a look. I'm going to start from about here, and as the paint runs out of my brush, I'm going to then come to the bottom so that it's lighter. Okay, working this texture up into this green space here, because there's three sort of lines that come up quite high. This is the third. Working up to those veins, tapping in with my splayed brush, adding that texture. Just going to go in and add a little bit more in the next bit. And again, just a little bit more over here. Just there. Okay, that's looking nice. Let's grab a little bit more. It's going to come up slightly higher there. Okay, now we are further down around here, so let's bring in some colour. Nice and gently. And then really softly as we come down here. Towards the white area. Just going to deepen up that line ever so slightly, so we can differentiate the different parts. Lovely. Okay, let's pick up a bit more. Just looking up here, we've got some little bit of speckled texture at the top there. On to the next bit. Okay, just working that down gently, gently to the next area. That's why dry brushing works so well for this. Just gives the nice soft texture that can be built up as dark as you want through as many layers. Okay. Just going to tap some little bits in there. Deepen up on the lines slightly, so that we can see that there's a little bit of definition. Okay, this is looking nice. Grab a little bit more paint. Start moving across. It gets lighter over here, so I'm not going to put as much down. Just gently. Okay, that's looking really nice. So I'm just adding some really fine little bits of texture around here as we come around into the white space. Okay, just grabbing a little bit more. Just going to deepen up the lines up here as it moves up to the neck slightly. Okay, and bring a little bit of texture up in here now. There we go. Right, let's just have a good look at that. So I'm going to really give my brush a good old wash out now. Okay. And I'm very gently again just going to tickle at the very bottom of that texture. Very, very gently with just the tip of my brush, just softening it ever so slightly. Lovely. Okay, I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of our green, so the green that we've been doing the lines with, and I'm going to bring these now down from where they are, and I'm just going to bring a hint of green through, just a few of them where we can just see it coming through here, where we've got that tinge. Okay, just there. Lovely. Right, okie dokie, let's have a good old look. Just going to pick up a little bit more of our purple and splay the brush out to dry brush, and I can just see that we need some little bits of texture just popping up here, very slight. Just there. Let's have a look. Let me just make sure that I'm happy with everything. Just going to deepen those couple of little bits there. Right, lovely. Okie dokie. So we're going to move right the way up now. Right, so just before we start the top of the spring onion, we're going to mix up another green or two. So let's just pop some water over there. I'm going to take Sennelier Yellow Light. Good old wallop of that. Don't worry about going in that cobalt patch down there, it's okay. And some French ultramarine. Start by making up a nice basic green. A bit more French ultramarine, make it a little bit darker, a bit bluer. That's looking nice. Let's just check that. Okay, I've got another little card here. That's looking nice. Yes, lovely, really lovely. Right, and we need something just a little bit darker, so I'm just going to pop that over there. I'm going to take a little bit more of the blue. I'm going to take a little hit of alizarin crimson in here and start making something really dark. Okay, and some more Sennelier Yellow, a bit more. So I'm just keeping going until I get the depth that I want. This is just for my shadow areas, so we don't need much. Let's just test that. Oh yeah, lovely, great. Okie dokie, I'm just going to add a touch of water to my brush just to get the excess paint out of there, so I can make use of it if I need to. Right, okie dokie, let's go and continue. Right, okay, let's get this done. So today is the following day. So I wasn't feeling very well and I had to go and have a lie down, and now I've woke up and I have an almighty cold and I feel dreadful. So if my voice has changed, I'm so sorry, but we've got to get this done, so let's get it finished. So sorry, I was chatting away there. We are starting on this top bit up here, just there. Okay, and we're going to put a bit of a glaze on. We're going to bring the glaze to just before those graphite markings start. So let's just use our number 4, pop this on, carefully sweeping down up into all those little nooks and crannies. Just being careful, there's a little bit that sits proud behind, so just don't go into that just yet. I'm just going to wipe off some water at my brush because we've got a bit of a puddle. Okay, so you can see I'm just going to take the water to just about here. So just making sure everything's correct there. Okay, now I've popped the green over the top of the purples for a minute. So the green that we're going to take is that one there. So the one at the bottom, which wasn't the green that we made at this time, it was the darker green we made up on the first run. So we're taking this, we're going to start on the inside where the shadow is, and we're going to run down here so we get that line nice and crisp. Okay, let it do its thing with what's on your brush. Let's come down the other side and start to come up into here, tickle it up there. I've got a couple of paler lines, we can just pop those in. Okay, I'm just going to let this do its own thing at the bottom here. Now I'm going to go and grab some of this colour. So the first one that we just made up, it's a bit more murky, and this is going to come in here at the edge. Let's add a bit more shadow. So start to get a bit of a rounded appearance going on. Take a little bit of it into the tips there, and we will gently bring it down in a few lines just to follow the direction there. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush, take the water out, make sure it is out, and then I'm just going to very gently lift a few thin lines. So one there, the others are already sort of there, to be fair, aren't they? Let's just very gently lift a little bit more colour out. Okay, I'm going to go into a very darkest colour, just picking up a tiny little bit of that, and I'm just going to pop it right along that edge there. Wash my brush, take the water out, pick up a little bit of that one again, and again just drop that in right on top, so this spreads this dark just nicely. When everything dries out, it dries out so much lighter with watercolour, so I want to try and get some depth in there from the get-go. Wash my brush, take the water out, and I'm just going to use the tip just to very gently tickle, very gently at the edge. Okay, and now I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it well alone. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm telling lies. I'm going to wash my brush, I'm going to take the water out, and I just missed. I just forgot to just tickle around here so that there's no hard edge. So let's just make sure that's done there. Lovely. Right, okie dokie. Right, okay, on to the next bit. So we are going to do the bit that juts out here. This little tiny section. So let's just remove some of our graphite. Okay, and I'm going to come down to a number 2 brush because it's a very small little area. I'm just going to pop a little bit of a glaze in to come up to the tip. Just going to get rid of some of that water. This is a little bit too much. It's gently going to come down into that little crevice there where the skin split. Okay, right, and we are now going to take the first green that we made up. So the most vibrant green. So you'll have to wake that up a little bit. So let's grab that. Come down the outside first. So make sure that the darkest deposit of colour is on the shadow side. Makes the most sense. Bring it down into that little crevice there. Okay. Let's come down the outside edge. And let's just let that sit for a second. Okay. There's quite a bit of water there. So if yours is dry, then you'll want to do this straight away. So we're just going to lift up a few little light lines. I'm going to go into the second colour that we made up. I'm going to drop this at the back here. Use that as our shadow colour over here. A little bit of it down in there. There is a little bit on this edge as well, so I'm going to pull a few lines through there. It's looking nice. I'm going to let it sit for just a second, and while I do, I'm washing my brush, taking all the water out of it, and then I'm just going to, again, gently lift just a couple of lines, and the indication of some. Okay, right, that can sit as well now. Okay, so we're going to come over to this section now. Now this is split in two, and we are going to paint it as such. So we'll just do one half at a time. We'll remove all of the graphite. There's a hair on my putty rubber, I can see it there. Right. Okie dokie. There we go. Okay, I think I'm going to go back to my number 4. And I'm going to put a glaze on, and we're going to paint the section that's in front. Now we've got a little bit of an imperfection at the top of this section. I'm ignoring that. I don't want it in my painting. If you want to put it in, that's totally up to you. But I'm deciding to ignore it. I want a nice looking specimen. So I'm bringing my glaze up to the edge of that split. Okay, just grab a little bit more water, comes around, just leaving a fine edge around there, and we are going to come right up to these lines. Just taking a really good look, making sure our edge is correct, making sure we've got this split down here. Okay, so you can just come over the top of our lines there. Let's just make sure there's enough of a glaze on here. Yeah, I think so. Okay, right, we are going to first of all go in with this colour. So let's go and wake that up. Okay. And just as we did before, I want to run down the side, get this nice and accurate. Let it do its thing. if you need to tidy up your line, then you can do that here. I'm just going to let everything sort of merge. It is quite dark over here, so let's get some paint all the way across. It has lightened off. We're going to put some more in, don't worry. This is just a first layer just to establish our shape. Make sure it's correct, because if we go straight in with dark and our shape's wrong, it's not going to look very good, is it? So let's just pull up. Okay, I'm going to go into sort of more moody mossy green now. So I'm just stirring that because it's starting to separate. And again, let's start at the edge, bringing this colour over. Keeping a lot of this at the top section. Let's have a look. Okay. Bring it down a little bit further around here. I'm going to go into the first green we put down now, grab a little bit more of that, and I'm coming around here. I'm going to look now at these lines, and I'm going to start to deepen up at the top of some of them so that it's all connected and dark enough. Okay. Just making sure my edge is right. So you've got to be very careful, have a very good eye, look at what you're doing, look at the lines you've already put down and follow them. Okay, I'm going to grab a bit more of a moody mossy green. Pop a bit more of this down, it's not quite dark enough over on this edge here. Just there. I've got this dark area. Just here, just trying to show some form at the moment. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush, take the water out. I'm going to do a little bit of lifting. Just going to come down here. Just make sure everything looks nice. I'm going to lift a little bit on this top end where it curls over. There's a little bit of light coming through here. Just there. Let's have a look. A little bit of light coming at the back of there. Okay, and we need to go slightly darker, so I'm just picking up a little bit of that mossy green right down the edge here, because there is actually a little bit of cast shadow. So just coming down very gently. Wash the brush, take the water out. I'm just going to soften up the side of that. Okay, put a bit more of that mossy green colour. And just deepen up where I feel needs it. Okay, and then again wash the brush, take the water out, and where I went over here I'm just going to lift that out. Just want to try and get these lovely areas of light to show the curve of the subject there. And don't forget, we can always come back in later And add a bit more colour. Okay. Just going to come to the bottom here. And again, just make sure everything's nice and satisfactory. Just going to grab a little bit more paint so we can just pull this up. Make this curve just there slightly darker. Oh dear, okay. And again, I'm just going to very gently pull it a little bit further down. Wash my brush, take the water out. And just tickle it where I feel needs it. And I'm just going to pull down this way a little bit with a dry brush. There we go. Lovely. Right, okay, I'm going to leave that to sit now. Right, okay, so we've got to wait for that one to dry before we put this one in. So we're going to come back to our first section, and I'm going to pick some of this colour up and we're going to dry brush it on. I hope you can see when I'm saying this colour. Ah, no you can't. Right, it's the bottom colour. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do a little bit of dry brush with this. So let's just grab a little bit, okay, and we're just going to very gently sweep a few lines down and through, mainly over this side here. Just bringing a little bit of texture over there. Let's have a look. Wash the brush, take the water out. Just going to soften that bit there. Okay, let's grab a little bit more. And just coming over this side. Just add the odd one or two fine line there. A little bit of texture, lovely, okay. We'll come up to this one here. Oh, we've got this on the brush and I'm going to do exactly the same, just running through those lines that we created and just adding just that little bit of texture there. Okay, I'm going to get some of our moody green on the brush, just a tiny little bit at the tip. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pop this little bit on at the back. So it's just going to come in here and be slightly raised. I'm going to wash my brush, take the water out. I'm going to use the tip to just lift a tiny bit of light through it. And then I'm going to pick up some of the very dark, just a tiny, tiny little bit. I'm going to pop that right in to those little cracks there with the very tip of the brush, and a little bit around those edges there, just to highlight that. Lovely, okay. Right, okay, so we're going to erase the lines from this section now. Still want to be able to slightly see them. Just want the excess graphite gone. So let's just go up to here. It's there. Right, let's have a look. Let's just... Okay, so let's put a glaze on. We're going to take the glaze... there's a big blob of water there. We're going to take the glaze up to that bit of skin that wraps around there and comes off that way. We're going to come up to the green here, so you can go slightly over and into there down the sides and up to the point where we stopped previously, so that skin there. So just filling in this little section here. Okay, got a little bit of puddle there, let's remove that. Okay, so we're going to water down a section of this again, just like we did before. Make sure it's nice and pale. Now we're going to come down this side first of all, because this has got more pigment over here for some reason. I'm going to come across the top of that skin there. Just grab a little bit more. Running this down, coming down the outside here. And I'm just going to pull a tiny little bit around the top, that collar there. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit more colour. Pop this down this side. And I'm going to run it up into there so it's all flowing together. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit more and I'm going to bring it down this side, and then we're going to have to put some dark on here. So let's just pop that there. Okay, we're going to pick up some of the mossy green first of all, a little bit on the side of the brush, and see how this sits before we go in with the real dark. And we've got a little bit of a kink down there. So we just want to come in there, pop that in. Okay, so we've got some shadow sitting there, but we do need that dark. So let's grab a little bit of our very, very dark, using the tip to run this right up that outer edge. Just there, okay. Wash my brush, take the water out. Just going to gently tickle at that. I can sort that bit out in a minute. It's not quite correct, so I'm just removing it. Okay, now over here, I'm just going to start to lift a few lines, which will in turn soften the shadow. Keep it dark on that inside. I'm just going to grab a little bit more of our pale colour and bring it down the outside here before it turns into all these lines. Let's have a look. I'm going to grab a little bit of the second colour that we made up, and I'm just going to come in here just there, and follow down in here in this curve area just a little bit. Wash my brush, take the water out, and just gently feather at that. Right, okie dokie. And before we put any of the veins on, we're going to let that sit now, okay? Right, okay, so while that's drying, let's hop back over here and let's put this bit on. If you want to move down to a number 4, you can. I'm going to come around the back here. Just putting a bit of a glaze on. And we're going to take our darkest colour that we made in the first lot of greens. So let's pop this on at the back here. There is a tiny bit of a split here. I want to capture that. Okay, and I also want to capture this bit that comes out from the back. So I'm painting that on with my brush and bringing it up to meet. Didn't want to put a glaze on because it's very fine, but I do want to capture that area. Okay, so we've got a bit of a base down there. Let's grab that mossy, moody green now. Start coming from the inside and deepening up here, where we can see that shadow. A little bit up the back. I'm going to wash my brush, take the water out. And I'm just going to lift a little bit of light through the centre and over the tip there. Okay, just grabbing another bit of darker green. And again, just coming down in here. I'm going to add some of the very dark in a bit, so I just want to get this down first. And again, up this outside, and we can just clean this edge up as we go with the tip of the brush. It doesn't have to be straight at all, it's quite wobbly, but I just want to clean it up a little bit. Again, wash my brush, take the water out, and up through the centre, just there. And we are going to take a little bit of the very dark. Let's grab some of that. And we're going to come right up into our split here. A little bit down that area there. Let's pick up a tiny bit more. Just down here. Okay, and again, wash the brush, take the water out, soften if need be. I'm going to come and soften up this edge. This isn't how I want it. Just there. Let's have a look. I'm going to grab some of our fresher green. I'm going to pop this in down the bottom here. Just there. Tiny little bit of our dark. And just making sure everything is as I want it. I'm just going to run up the back just a little bit broken. Okay, I'm going to pick up some of the mossy green and I'm going to put this little hooked and broken bit of skin on there. Need a little bit of dark on that. Just tapping it in. Okay, just using the very tip of the brush. I'm also going to use the tip of the brush to bring some of that dark to the top of this section here. Just there, just to show the breaks a little bit. A little bit more dark just down there, and then wash the brush, take the water out and soften. Okay, right, and I'm going to leave that to sit for a minute, okay? Right, okay, so I'm going down to my number 2 now, and we're going to start putting these lines in here. So this colour here, the one at the bottom, just grab that on our brush, and let's start to plop these in. Now, if it's easier for you to come down, that's fine. If it's easier for you to go up, that's totally up to you. I think I'm going to go up for the moment, see how I go. All I want to do is make sure that the curve is correct, mainly. Okay, just grab some more. Don't run out of paint and go too dry. These are nice structured lines. Grab a little bit more. Just looking for places these can meet. Grabbing some more paint. Oh, I do feel awful. I'm starting to get a bit of a fever now. I feel really hot. But I must continue. Nearly finished now. Okay, and moving on. My husband was poorly over the weekend, so it must have been him that gave it to me. Okay, this is looking really nice. Let's continue. Really pleased with this. A little bit more. We're coming from these deep shadows now. Just got to look what's happening as it comes up here, because it starts to, they're starting to meet now. And come around the corner. Let's just grab a little bit more. So I'm going to go the other way now. This forks off and comes around here. And we've got another one just there. Let's grab a little bit more. I'll put in some of these tiny little secondaries. Just there. Looks nice. Okay, now we've got these under here, but we need to make them lighter. So add a tiny little bit of water to the outside edge of that green so that we've just got it a little bit lighter. And we've got to follow on with what we were doing just underneath here. And I'm not taking it right up to the edge of the white, leaving about a millimetre gap, just seeing what's underneath there. Lovely. Really nice. Okie dokie. There's a few little bits that can be seen through there, so I'll just pop the odd suggestion. Okay. Right, I'm very happy with that. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of that colour that we've been using. And I'm going to come down here, just add in a few more lines. And just make sure that curve's correct there. Wash my brush, take the water out, and I'm just going to lift a little bit here because it's quite pale. Just there, lovely. Okay. Right, let's let all that dry and then we can come back and do this section. Right, okay. So I'm just going to water down a little bit of our lightest green so that we've got a little bit of a tea wash. Okay, and I'm going to pop this over little stem here, our root. Just there. Okay, let's take a little bit more. I wasn't sure if I was gonna bring it through there, but I am actually. Okay, I'm gonna bring a bit through the back as well, just deepen those two sections up a little bit. I'm gonna take a little bit of the darker colour and just pull it through the curve at the bottom, just there. And when that's dried, I can just pull a few little lines through there as well. Okay, so let's remove the graphite from this bit now. There's not too much left, is there? So it's not too bad. Okay, so we're going to put our glaze on the big bit. We're going to leave those two little bits there. So let's just grab some water. So across and down, up into that area there. Just grab a little bit more and down to the top of the skin there. Okay, let's just have a look, make sure everything's good. Okay, watering down some of our very pale colour, just like we've done before. Let's start popping some on. So I'll start from this side, popping some of this colour on. There is a little bit of shadow here. Okay, and then we'll come to the other side. It's quite blue through here. So I'm just going to bring that across the top there. A little bit in here. Okay, and now I'm going to take some of this colour. There's not much of that left, actually. And I'm going to start bringing this in from the tip here. Working it down gently. Let's have a look. Quite a bit of this scene down this edge. It's down there. Let's just neaten this up. It's gone a tiny little bit wonky there. I'm going to take a little bit of the mossy green and just pop that in just a little bit towards the back there, where it is that bit darker. Wash my brush, take the water out, let's have a look. While it's sitting, I'm just going to whip a few light lines just there. Grab a little bit more colour to sit at the top here. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to bring a little bit of this down here. It's darker than I anticipated. Wash my brush, take the water out. Just going to swipe down there. Very gently. And now I'm going to grab a tiny little bit of cobalt. Very watery cobalt, so if you've lost that, just grab a little bit more. And we're going to pop that through here. Right there. So we've just got a nice bit of blue highlight. Okay. Back to our very pale green. And we've got a little bit of this that just sits in there. Wash the brush, take the water out, soften. Okay, just grabbing a little bit more of a green and just coming down here. In fact, I'm going to go even slightly darker. So there is some shadow there. Wash my brush, take the water out. Tickle that away. Let's have a look. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the mossy green. And again, let's just deepen up the back here. Where it's slightly darker. Softening through. Okay. Right, so let's let that sit for a minute now. Right, okay, so it's nice and dry now, so let's go and put those lines on. So using the same colour that we've been using for the lines, that bottom one down there. Let's start working these up now. Okay. So let's just have a look how they sit. Got one that comes out from around the corner. It splits off in a little bit of a fork there. Another one. Now I've got two little bits there. I have got a slight one here. Just working up there. Just going to grab a little bit more paint. So coming down from here now. Let's have a look. Okay, and we can just start following along now. Let's grab a little bit more. And getting as many of these fine lines as we can muster. And following the direction of the curve. Just there, lovely. Okay, that's looking really nice. Now with what's left on the brush, I'm just going to very gently again just pull a thin suggestion through here, down underneath, so that we can just about see that skin under there. Right, okie dokie. So I'm going to stick with that colour. And I'm just going to come over here now, and I'm just going to pull just a few lines through at the top. Oh, sorry about that. My alarm. Just there. And a few at the bottom here. Just let them come around. Put the odd one or two at the back there. Lovely. Right, okay, so all we've got to do now is these two little bits of skin at the top and the roots at the bottom. I'm just going to keep that colour, and I'm just going to just very gently bring a little bit more at the top section there. Right, okie dokie. Okay, so I'm dropping down to number 2. We're going to take a little bit of that lightened colour that we've been using, that really watered down green. And we are going to have to use it as a sort of tea wash. It's such a small area to get a glaze in. So I'm just going to come across, bringing some colour in on my brush, over the top there. I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm just going to tease that over now with just plain water on my brush. I'm going to grab a little bit more paint so I can make it slightly darker on the edge there, in keeping with the shadow that we've got going on. Let's just let that dry off a smidgen. Just there. Wash my brush, take the water out. I'm just going to make sure that is light there. Okay, right, that can stay as it is for a moment. Let's pick up some more of our light colour and come over to the other side. And we're going to drop it in here. Just there. Again, wash my brush, take the water out, and I'm just going to tickle it across. Let it sit for a second. Drop a little bit of colour in over here for a little bit of shadow there. Wash my brush, take the water out. Just pull a bit of a line through. And we can just let that dry now, and then we can put the lovely veins through there in a second. Okay, so that's dry, so let's grab some of the paint that we've been using for the veins. And let's just start to put those lines through. And they're quite prominent. Just using the number 2 to pull them through. There's a little bit of a white edge on this skin where it's broken, so I'm trying to not go all the way to the edge. Let's grab a little bit more and do this section. Very carefully. Lovely, that's looking good. And then with what's left, we'll just very gently pull the suggestions through under the next layer. Just there. Excellent, great. So with what's left on my brush, I'm just going to come around here, put in couple of little darker bits at the top there. And that's that. So for the top, we are done. So we're going to move back down now. Just have a look at our bulb, see if we need to do any adjustments, and then we're going to put on the little roots at the bottom, okay? Right, okie dokie. Now, I don't really want to make many adjustments to the purple. The only thing that I want to do is pick up some of that green that we've been using for the veins, and I just want to just deepen up a couple of these. So I'm just going to run just back up them, just gently. Okay, this one here. Just wanted to deepen them up just slightly. There we go, lovely. Okay, so we'll go across now and we'll make up a colour for our little roots at the bottom. Right, okay, let's make up a little bit of a brown colour for our roots. So let's just grab a little bit of water, pop it over here. A little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to take some quinacridone gold. Just in there. I'm going to take a tiny bit of French ultramarine. That was tiny. Let's actually get some. Tiny little bit of French ultramarine just to turn it a bit more brown. A little bit of alizarin crimson. A little bit more French ultramarine, that's better. We've got a nice brown now. Okay. Just going to move that over there. And I'm going to make up a bit of a darker patch. A little bit more French ultramarine. Lovely. Okie dokie. So we've got, that's our dark brown. Let's just wash off. And that's our lighter brown. Okay. Right, okie dokie. Let's get these last little bits finished off now. So let's just gently take away a little bit of the graphite. Okay, and we're going to just pick up on our number 2 some of that paler brown colour. And we are just going to pop on very gently the indication of these veins here. Okay, so we're just painting them on. Okay, I'm going to pick up now a little bit of our darker brown on my brush. Oh, my alarm again. And just gently come underneath just a couple of the roots and sort of in between, just add a little bit of shadow and depth. Nothing over the top. Okay, and that's all we need. Lovely. Right, okie dokie. Okay, so I've tried to angle the camera to get as much in as I can, but we're not having much joy. It's just too tall, especially for the landscape view. It'd be easier if we were in portrait mode, but no. So anyway, so I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I don't want to alter anything. I'm very pleased with it. So I hope that you're pleased with yours, and I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you've learned something. I am going to go and take some sip and go back to bed now. And until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.